Hello there, this is James Crofty, Joe's 1978, and a few days ago now, while we were chatting over Skype, my wonderful friend Saskia sent me a short story which she wrote for an assignment back in high school entitled Mataram. I adored it so much that she has given me her permission to share it with you all, and I've uploaded the PDF file on Issue. As always, there are links are all listed down in the underbar, and as well as being an incredible writer, she is also an astounding vocalist and musician, so I ask everyone to please subscribe to Saskia's YouTube channel. But returning to her story though, it reminds me so much of her music because there is so much depth, texture, expression and emotion in every single line. Reading the reflection statement which she also shared with me after I'd finished reading the story, I am in awe of the passion which Saskia felt and displayed while researching Indonesian history and her own ancestral connection to Indonesian royalty, the social order of the period, as well as in modern Indonesia, including the tension and contradictions which often exist between the individual and society, the image which we present versus what we truly are. This contradiction was expressed in the Jaya Langkara, an Indonesian book of knowledge and virtues which Saskia questions and even ridicules because it is so hideously flawed, but nonetheless the principles upon which the behaviour and decorum of the Mataram Sultanate was built, frustrating them as they adhered to some virtues diligently while blatantly disregarding others. There is so much social and historical depth, richness and meaning in Saskia's story. However, I'm actually happy to say that instead of turning it into an essay or a historical analysis, as much as the exploration of her ancestral history and Indonesian society had meant to her, Saskia focused on creating a truly engaging work of literature. So with that in mind, although I will also link the reflection statement down in the underbar if she gives me permission to do so, let's get our story on. Like a short independent film or a great Asian movie in which everything is expressed silently in a single scene, instead of a detailed narrative, long and descriptive backstories for each character, explaining the historical context, progressing chronologically and so forth, Mataram only really consists of half a dozen scenes that appear to be quite disjointed, but which, with the exception of the first chapter, focus entirely upon the people. Not the history, the economics, the politics, or the ideologies, but on the individual human beings whose emotions and desires, flaws and weaknesses would shape one of the most important events in Indonesian history. It is as if we are peering back in time to witness 5 key moments in Indonesian history, with Saskia intimately and sumptuously describing every motion and gesture, every reaction and response, demonstrating once again that the lives, desires, motivations and flaws of Indonesian royalty and nobility in the mid-18th century were no different than yours or mine. That we don't need to understand Indonesian history, politics, or the social order of the period to understand what the people did or why they chose to do it, because in the end, the human heart never changes. We love, we dream, we hope, we suffer, and we die. Before I go, however, I am compelled to praise the poetry with which Saskia anthropomorphized something as simple as the wind in the first chapter of her story. A wind came from the east to rouse the crops, the dainty trees, and anything without anchor to dance vigorously. The invisible gust became a violent beast, howling and screeching as he tormented his mortal victims. He laughed at the ant that flailed her arms in abandoned panic in an attempt to rescue the cane batik that had resolved to fly out of its wiry prison. He taunted a tortoise who hobbled across the muddy ground to find shelter from the incoming onslaught, and he screeched at the gibbon clinging to a dancing tree, his beady eyes set on a coconut until a voice screamed and warned of the dangers. This was the sight of Mataram from above.